In this video, I'm going to show you an advanced sidechaining technique that may help to get your leads to stand out in the mix. If this is your first time here and you want to learn all about FL Studio and music production in general, then make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell as well. Here we have an uplifting trance project. This track was released on Emergent Skies and also by Abora Recordings on their Top 15 Uplifting Only album in February 2019. If you haven't heard it yet, then you can check it out on Spotify, Tidal, and so on. What's interesting with this track from a production standpoint is that it has an interesting twist with the leads. As you can see, the project is quite large with a lot of stuff going on. Unfortunately, the more stuff there is in a mix, the more difficult it becomes, and this track is no exception. Pay attention to the pluck intro. It comes back during the breakdown.
Having fired the imagination of a generation, a ship like no other, its place in history voyage at an end.
There's also some arpeggiated supersaw leads building up in the background. Then we have the usual tension building up towards the drop. Here's the drop, and the supersaws are playing the main melody. So far, so good. But listen what's happening later on, in the B part of the drop. The pluck comes back in as a top melody, and the vocal also comes back in here. There's already a lot going on at this point, and this kind of music is usually very compressed as well, which doesn't help. There isn't really any room for anything else in the mix at this point, but we really want those plucks in here, so how can we make them fit? Well, the trick here is to use old school sidechaining to make room for both melodies at the same time. What happens here is that when the plucks melody comes in, the supersaw lead actually ducks to let the transients of the pluck through. You probably didn't even notice, right? As you can see here, the volume of the leads goes down slightly every time the pluck plays. It might seem like a subtle thing, but if I turn it off, the mix just doesn't work anymore. It becomes muffled and they keep fighting for space in the mix. Some notes will get through and others won't. By doing it this way, you make sure that one gets out of the way every time the other plays. So, here's how you do it. Mixer track number 2 is labeled sidechain. This is our sidechain trigger for the plucks, which is feeding the sidechain signal to the main lead bus. The trigger itself is muted, of course, but if we link it to the master again, then you'll be able to hear it. As you can hear, it's not a pluck, but a hat. The reason for this is that we just want to let the transients through. So we want a quick trigger here. A hat is an ideal trigger in this case. It's playing exactly the same melody as the top melody, except that all the notes are placed on a straight line. Okay, so we have a hat playing the exact same thing as the top melody. Now this hat, which is our sidechain trigger, is routed to mixer track 2. Let's disconnect it from the master because obviously we don't want to hear the trigger itself. As you can see, it's sidechained to the leads mix bus. On the leads bus, we have quite a lot of processing going on. Let's load up the fruity compressor. The only purpose of this compressor is to control the sidechaining. The sidechain trigger, which is the hat, is being fed into the input here. The compressor is set up with a fast attack and a fast release. We just want it to start working quickly and then stop to let the transients through. If I adjust the threshold, the effect becomes even more evident. Now, the trick here obviously is to find the sweet spot. You don't want the volume to dip so much that it sounds weird, but you want it to dip just enough so that the top melody comes through clearly. When done right, nobody will even notice what's happening. This is just one of the reasons why old-school sidechaining can be so useful. These days, most people just use LFO Tool, Kickstart, and so on, and that works very well most of the time. As long as you have a standard 4-to-the-floor beat going on, you won't have any problems. However, when you have a more advanced beat, or if you want to sidechain something such as a melody, like in this case, you will need to use the old school method with a trigger and a compressor. This technique can be used on pads, leads, vocals. You get the idea. If you don't know how to set up basic sidechaining with a trigger and a compressor, then check out my How to Sidechain tutorial. I have several videos about sidechaining, and you can find the links in the description below. I hope this was helpful. If you liked the video, then give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed yet, then make sure to hit that subscribe button so that you'll get notified the next time I upload a video. I'd like to thank my Patreons who help make these videos possible. As always, if there's any specific tutorial you'd like me to make, or if you have a question, just let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching.